If you've ever been reluctantly pulled into politics despite your better judgment, or found yourself balancing personal integrity with public pressure, or if you've ever wondered what happens when a quiet, thoughtful detective becomes an unexpected symbol of community change, or if you're just curious about how Precious handles the chaos of campaign season and new cases at the agency, and as always, our unpredictable Grace, if so, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I'll be reviewing The Colors of All the Cattle by Alexander McCall Smith. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're continuing our journey through one of my favorite long-running series, the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. If you've been following along, you know I've been reading and reviewing each book in this series one by one, diving into the quiet brilliance as well as the gentle humor and rich emotional world of Mma Ramotswe, better known as Precious, because I have a hard time saying Mma Ramotswe, as well as her other friends in Botswana. I've created a full playlist dedicated to these books, so if you are just now joining me or want to catch up on some of them, make sure to check out that playlist on my channel. We're looking at the 19th book in that series. These reviews aren't just about the mysteries, they're also about the characters, the culture, and the way that Alexander McCall Smith invites us to slow down and reflect just a little bit more. So thank you for being here and for letting me share these stories with you. I would like to introduce this series itself, just in case you are not familiar with it. The #1 Ladies Detective Agency follows the wise and compassionate Precious Ramotswe. I have a hard time saying Ramotswe, so I always just call her Precious, although in the books she is almost always referred to as Mma Ramotswe. She is Botswana's first female private detective. She is working out of the small office of her husband's garage. He is a mechanic, and from there she tackles mysteries, both big and small, always with a strong moral compass and an intuitive sense of human nature, and a deep love for her country and friends. Over the course of this series, we've seen her agency grow alongside her personal life, from her marriage to the ever-dependable Mr. JLB Matakoni, to her evolving friendship and occasional exasperation with her assistant turned partner, Mama Grace Makutsi. The heart of these books is not just the cases they solve, but the lives that they live. And the mysteries tend to be grounded in everyday concerns, whether it's maybe ethical dilemmas or troubled relationships, in some cases maybe a missing person. But they are very rarely about violence or high-stake crimes. Instead, these books are meditations on kindness and justice and the slow unfolding of truth in a world that often rushes past the important things. Here is my summary for this specific volume, The Colors of All the Cattle, which there will be some spoilers, although maybe not all the finest details, but because there are so many books in the series, 25 so far, I do try to give a summary. That is one of the things that I think a video like this should do, especially since I think it's pretty easy to mix up the storylines by this point. And I'll be honest, I try to double check my summaries to make sure I am correct, but I could still be wrong. I cannot check every single fact because, again, there are 25 books in the series and I could be, misplacing some. So let's take a look at this specific volume. Our protagonist, Precious, is dragged, and very much against her will, into the strange and often frustrating world of politics. After being encouraged by Mama Patukwane, who is the matron of an orphanage nearby, and of course Grace, she reluctantly agrees to run for a seat on the Gaborone City Council. Her campaign is fueled by concern over a proposed hotel development next to a local cemetery, which is of course a place of rest and reverence that she feels must be protected. This unlikely foray into politics becomes one of the central tensions of the book. Of course, Precious's natural humility and discomfort with self-promotion puts her at odds with the expectations of campaigning. Meanwhile, Grace thrives in the spotlight, taking on the role of campaign manager with, we'll say, some gusto, perhaps maybe a little too much gusto. The contrast between their approaches reveals both their personalities and some strains in their working relationship. And so while the political storyline takes center stage, the agency still has cases to solve. So, for example, a young man named William is hit in a hit-and-run accident, and his mother hires the agency to look into it. What starts out as a simple investigation into a careless driver soon becomes a deeper look at the community's divisions, as it's the driver may be a powerful figure with connections. So Precious's persistence and ability to listen help unravel the truth and ultimately bring a measure of justice to the situation. Meanwhile, there are some smaller, quieter developments. Mr. Polapetsi gets into trouble again. I don't know if you remember, but he has been caught up in a pyramid scheme, and this time he is trying to sells some questionable medicine. This subplot serves as a reminder that kindness and ambition don't always align with good decisions, and so Precious must again weigh her sense of fairness against her impulse to forgive. And as the election approaches, Precious finds herself reflecting not just on the cemetery and city planning, but on the kind of leader and woman she wants to be. And the outcome of the vote and the way she handles it is both true to her character and quietly triumphant in a very Precious way. By the end of the novel, relationships are a little more settled, the agency is back in its normal pace, and the community has been nudged just a bit toward compassion and justice, all thanks to our thoughtful lady detectives. As usual, I love to give you some of my favorite lines from these books because I think that's one of the things that Alexander McCall Smith does so well. I try to have some funny, some profound. I sometimes put them in a particular order and sometimes I forget to, so I will just read them and hopefully I remember whether I thought that was profound or not. What else do you need in life, Mum? You have a fine husband, which is one of the most important things that anybody can have. I obviously thought that was a funny one. I did not think that was profound. Caution was always required when you looked under a bed, anybody's bed, even your own. So good. Charlie had indeed done something stupid, but this realization only made her want to defend him. Of course young men did stupid things. It's part of being a young man. Life happens, she thought. Whatever we do, life just happens. We don't hate people, Puso. We don't hate anybody. He looked at her sullenly. Why? He asked. Because hate makes you very tired, said Mma Ramotswe. She wondered whether there was more to say, but suddenly she felt tired herself. But please be careful and never think that you are justified in doing something wrong just because you're trying to do something right. I mean, if those types of quotes and stories don't get you more interested in the series, then I don't know what to tell you. These are just a handful of the ones that I love. So I recommend picking up these books for that reason alone. Speaking of which, who is this series for? Well, this book is perfect for readers who love thoughtful mysteries that are more about people than crimes. I've said that about probably all of these books. If you enjoy stories that center on character growth, as well as the community dynamics and some moral reflection more than, say, again, those high-stakes suspense, I think this series continues to deliver, especially for those who've been following Precious's journey and are invested in her relationships, whether with her family or her business, or of course with her partner, Grace. Or maybe you're just interested in her relationship with her clients. Whatever, if you're the kind of reader who finds comfort in returning to a familiar cast of characters and watching them grow incrementally from book to book, I think you'll find a lot to enjoy in this book as well. This particular installment is also great for readers curious about civic life and justice on a local level. Now, you're not going to get any real specific ins and outs, but I do think that for someone who loves their country, this is an excellent opportunity for Precious to explore her own possible involvement in government. And so I think that you could, take some thoughts about that from this book that I think may be of extra interest to some individuals. And of course, if you love Botswana's beauty as well as its culture and values as they are lovingly depicted by Alexander McCall Smith, then I think that The Colors of All the Cattle offers more of that and the gentle immersion that has made me really want to go visit this country. Who is this not for? Well, this book and really this whole series is not for the readers looking for those fast-paced action, high-stakes thrillers or detectives with a gun and a dark past. If your idea of a great mystery involves shootouts or twisted villains and heart-racing plot twists, then the #1 ladies detective agency may feel far too gentle and slow. It's also not for those who prefer standalone stories with a tidy beginning, a middle, and an end. While The Colors of All the Cattle does have a self-contained plot, much of its richness depends on knowing and caring about the characters' backstories. This book assumes you've spent some time with Precious and her colleagues, and it rewards that long-term relationship more than it invites brand new readers, although I do certainly think you could still enjoy this book on its own. Absolutely. I think that's true of all of these books. I think that the mysteries themselves may still appeal to you. I do think there's usually enough context clue or at least enough interesting things going on in each book that just seeing that particular book's episode and of involvement and an interaction between individuals, I think that alone should be appealing to most people. I'd say additionally that if you're looking for a book that sidesteps emotional difficulty, this one also may not do what you want. It is going to ask you to sit in your emotions. I will say that, like all these books, I think it is certainly thoughtful and well done, but it's not always necessarily light, and so some people may not want to read these for those reasons. The Colors of All the Cattle continues what makes this series so special. Again, that quiet wisdom, that warm-hearted storytelling, and a steady devotion to justice in its many forms, whether that's protecting a sacred space, or mending a friendship, or simply showing compassion to someone who's made a mistake. This book offers a unique twist on pulling Precious into the political arena, but it never loses sight of what matters most, and that is relationships, community, and the deep human desire to do what's right, even when it is hard. If you've made it this far into the series, this is another rewarding chapter in the lives of Botswana's most beloved detectives. And if you're new, well, you'll want to go back and see how these remarkable women built the lives that they lead. And of course, I have my playlist to help you with that if you would like. So if you read this book or any of the others in the series or anything else by Alexander McCall Smith, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know what you're thinking in the comments. And also, if you're enjoying this video or any of my videos, please share them. The more people that know about my channel, the more videos I can make. And don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And until next time, keep those pages turning.